Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Calista Solon, and you're watching NLC Trans. Tonight I'm here with my dear friends and co-hosts, Tara Alexander and Stacy Dozier. And we have a very special guest tonight. We have Jen Trace, and you are Executive Director of CABO, which is the Connecticut Alliance for Business Opportunity.
Yes,
right?
you got it.
And this is the part where I make my life really easy and ask you if you can maybe tell our audience a little bit about CABO and what you guys do and how this all works.
Well, so CABO was started in 2007 by our now president and founder, Dina Castricone, who is a New Haven attorney who was kind of just looking for ways to network and do business with other LGBT professionals, organizations, etc. And when she didn't find that there was one, she decided to create it. So we are an affiliate of the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, and they're located in Washington, D.C., and their primary focus is to advocate on behalf of all LGBT businesses, business owners, allied, anybody in the community, really. And so we're an affiliate of them. We've been very active since October of 2007. We have monthly events in New Haven, in Westport, and West Hartford. So, we're very busy, and we have some members down here, but we're really trying to grow the members in the New London area.
Yeah, I see your emails a lot, so I
far too frequently I have people say that. Like, I've seen your name somewhere. Like, yeah, sorry, I'm a little email happy.
But it's cool. And you actually brought us some. And
it's a positive thing because it means that you're constantly doing events. There's constantly an opportunity for GLBT-friendly businesses to interact.
Yeah, one of the things that I personally pride myself on the most is that the NGLCC has 62 affiliate chambers, so there's basically 62 CABOs across the country.
Wow.
And a lot of them have an 80-20% ratio between having LGBT members and then 20% allies. And ours is actually more like 60-40. And I feel like it says something about the state of Connecticut. It says something about the members that we have, in our organization, that, we're a far more tolerant and friendly state than a lot of our allies have it.
That's very interesting. Sort of more mainstream than
And it's one of those things that you want to be inclusive of everybody.
Well,
because I feel like if you're taking off and saying, oh, allies, we don't really want you. That's, it's not really going to serve the purpose.
We want allies.
Yeah, we want as many as we can get. So.
Yeah.
The bulk of our audience is allies.
Exactly, exactly. So, we want to, just create business networking opportunities for everybody, really. Because if we narrowed ourselves down to only doing business with LGBT professionals and companies, that we would have a very small pool to work from. So it's important to us to make sure that everybody is, knows that we're open and accepting of everybody who, it can contribute to the economic prosperity, which is part of our mission statement, is to promote and enhance the economic prosperity of LGBT businesses throughout, the entire state.
So there are a lot of small businesses in southeastern Connecticut, especially in the New London area. How does a Chamber of Commerce, specifically CABO, help them? How does that benefit them in their business?
There's a variety of ways. It depends on what their, it depends on what their business is, and it depends on what type of involvement they're looking to get. But a Chamber of Commerce in general basically provides networking opportunities, business opportunities, all the other, advertising, that type of stuff to get in front of a larger audience. I think CABO specifically helps people because we are a statewide chamber. So if people in New London are, small businesses in New London have a service or a product that they can sell or distribute throughout the rest of the state, it kind of gives them that extra platform that maybe a local or regional chamber might not give them.
Right. Or even potentially, if you're going to take a day trip to Mystic, maybe you want to swing by the shops and in New London. And,
and we have we provide any of our members who have a discount or service that they want to provide to other members. We have ways for them to do that. So it'd be one of those things. If you know that there's a whole row of shops in downtown Mystic that happen to be CABO members, CABO's become that like a seal of approval almost of knowing that if you're doing business with them, that they're supportive of the community.
Right.
And I think that's important for a lot of people.
Sure. Yeah, there would certainly be businesses we probably wouldn't
Are you
want to
looking for their names in
Well,
there?
it's also helpful if you know you're going into a business where you're not going to be mistreated.
Exactly, exactly. I think that's important for a lot of people. And at the end of the day, while we're a Chamber of Commerce and our members consist of other businesses or people who work for corporations, we always, we refer to our member directory because, you may not own a business, but that doesn't mean you're not shopping at businesses.
Right.
So if you're going to shop, may as well spend your money where you're going to get treated fairly.
Sorry. There are some interesting names in here. So the Connecticut Sun is in here.
Yes. We love the
That's kind
sun.
of cool.
Well, and that was a big deal recently,
Yeah.
the casinos.
Yes.
Foxwoods and
Casinos are
Mohegan
here.
Sun, that was last year?
Yeah, last June, I believe it was, Foxwoods, they were a member of ours because one of our board members, Dan Weaver, is an amazing advocate, and he was working at Foxwoods. So they had come in as a member, but they really wanted to reach out to the community more, and they came to us and said, we want to become a sponsor or a partner. And the first thing we did was look at their internal policies, and while they were okay, they weren't exactly what we wanted them to be. So they were very open and receptive to having a conversation with our president, who's also an attorney, myself and Dan, and we kind of just went in there and said, if you want to be fully inclusive, you need to make sure that your policies reflect that. And then once you do that, then we'd be more than happy to promote you as much as possible. So they've been a great partner so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, inclusive policies are really good. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, we live day to day. We do business with a lot of different people, and you sort of learn over time, who's friendly and who isn't. And for the most part, I can't say that I run into a lot of businesses out there that are unfriendly towards me. But it's kind of useful to sort of to have some information, and a lot of times you don't. You just you don't know.
And I feel like sometimes a company or a business might represent themselves as friendly, but then really aren't.
Right. And we wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
There's kind of no way to know.
And Cabo's kind of becoming that resource where, if they're a member of Cabo, you definitely know that they are 100% supportive of the entire community.
So when you accept someone into your member list, you've done a pretty extensive review of their business practices, their hiring practices, personnel
Yes.
practices.
Yeah, because the last thing that we would want is for a company to join our membership and us to not have done the legwork, to then come to find out that they have awful employment practices, and then come to a networking meeting and talk with other members, and then for our members to walk out the door being like, oh, why on earth did they allow them in this room?
Yeah, that
so
would,
we try to be cautious and leery to make sure that we provide that safe, open environment for all of our members in a business setting, and the last thing we want is somebody to come in there and destroy it.
Right.
Absolutely, that would that would be a bad thing. Frito-Lay is in here. That is wonderful, because I guess now I don't have to worry about
we support that
all those
company.
chips. Yeah,
Too liberally at times.
they are my weakness, but yeah.
But it's good to see a consumer product like that out there because, if you're sitting in the aisle, choosing what chips you're going to purchase, knowing that Frito-Lay happens to be a member of Cabo, at least locally, it's one of those things that's important. And that's another thing that the NGLCC does, is that they're on the national level, and they have, I think it's 130 corporate partners, and it ranges from IBM and Coke and Pepsi and Wells Fargo, and there's just a whole host of different companies, and on a, they're on a national level, but if they have branches locally, there's no reason why you shouldn't be utilizing their services.
Yeah, and as consumers, that is our interaction point, is voting with your dollar.
Exactly.
So, but it's interesting. The on the back of the directory here, you have your corporate sponsors: Aetna, Foxwoods, Comcast, Murtha Cullina, Rainbow Times, Bering Star, and then the KISS 95.7 and River 105.9.
We have a new one, which is Nutmeg State Federal Credit Union. They just recently became a partner of ours as well. So, it's exciting when you see that, banking institutions, well, credit union, financial institutions,
Financial institutions.
are supporting us. And they are fortunate enough to have a new CEO that came in about September, and he's openly gay. So I think that also adds that additional element of, diversity and, us being able to, like you were just saying, spend, vote with our money is what it comes down to.
Well, in some ways, I think that more and more businesses are realizing that when they reach out to the LGBT community, they're not only reaching out to members of the community, they're reaching out to allies.
Exactly.
So it's a great, it becomes a great public relations.
Yeah, and there's some companies out there that just use it for that public relations opportunity, but if they're not authentic and they're not genuine all the way through the chain of command, then I think that it gets shown. So, you could have some company who's out there saying, oh, we're gay friendly, or, we support the LGBT community, but, sooner or later it will show through if they really aren't supportive.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to take an opportunity to razz our local community.
Yes.
When I look under bars and nightclubs, I see Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun. I don't see O'Neill's and Frank's.
That's a call to action.
Yes, guys. You need to get on board. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Certainly, we have a lot of stuff going on right here in the new one.
There's, it is kind of ironic because there are a lot of community-friendly businesses, LGBT-friendly businesses, ally businesses throughout the broadcast area, in New London County specifically, and through Waterford, New London, Groton to Mystic, and there are a lot of LGBT-friendly businesses, but they're apparently not networking. They're not taking advantage of the opportunities that they.
And I think it comes down to Cabo not having made that formal outreach yet. Like I was saying, we started in 2007. We had a really heavy New Haven focus because 4 out of our 5 board members at the time, the founding board, lived in New Haven or worked in New Haven. So it only makes sense to.
We found that with a lot of the state groups. They're sort of New Haven or Hartford-based, and there's another corner to the state.
Yeah, exactly. And so while it was there, we slowly started moving into Hartford because we were seeing that there's a lot of members in Hartford. And we slowly started working our way towards Fairfield. So we have those 3 areas covered. Now this is the next one to make it, really important because we already have a good amount of members in the area. We're just waiting to get that critical mass of people that we can have events and have successful events and provide those networking opportunities with the nonprofits, the corporations, and every other business in between.
Sure. As you said earlier, and as Callie alluded to, the emails that come out they're constantly about breakfasts, brunches, lunches, networking opportunities for representatives from the various member businesses to get together, and you've had speakers at some of them too, talking about the political climates and the business climates and the economic changes.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, we are out for business, and our main focus is trying to make sure that all of our businesses are educated, they're employing the right practices and all those types of things. But Nancy Wyman, our lieutenant governor, is a huge supporter of ours and has been for the past 4 years, which is fantastic. And she's always our guest speaker at our annual business expo, and which is usually in the New Haven area. However, maybe it'll be here this year. I don't really know yet. But yeah, we do
some wonderful facilities at one of your partners.
That's what I hear. So it's a matter of really just the outreach in this area to get everybody on board and just so we can have a good event, because we do have a lot of breakfast events, and we have 30 to 40 people show up at them, and we have corporate partners who are there looking to do business with smaller businesses. So it's really good opportunities out there.
And we have both some big businesses and some small businesses in this corner of the state.
That's true. That is absolutely true. We have some very big ones. But you certainly would know, well, both of you are, have experience with some of the bigger businesses here. One of the things that sort of strikes me about some of this, and I love the idea that we get this information. It's really useful information to sort of know, who's sort of friendly to us and who isn't. And I kind of have mixed emotions about that, because there's a part of me that wants to say, you know, why do I need to know this, and why sort of that that I shouldn't have to be considering whether a business is going to be friendly to me or not. It's just it really goes against the grain for me. It's sort of like, you know, and I can see people out there asking, why do you need a thing like this? Why do you know? They're just businesses, but the fact of the matter is that that we really don't know. The truth is we do business with somebody we don't know what's going on, and
in order to be an effective consumer, to vote with your dollar, you have to be educated.
Yeah, and certainly, you know, for I think for the general public, you know, people that are not necessarily a member of our broader community, it's sort of, it's, you know, it's okay, I shop where I want to shop, you know, I do business with who I want to do business with, and it doesn't really make much difference, but there is an element, there are businesses out there, people that really are unfriendly to us and that hate us and that sometimes even work actively against us in various ways. And it is sort of, you know, while it bothers me that I have to do that. It bothers me that I need this.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different segue into other activities that are going on right now. You shouldn't have to worry about, you know, public accommodations, going into a store, being verbally abused or being asked to leave just because you're gay or lesbian or trans or bi or whatever.
And you shouldn't have to worry about what their business's policies are, but the fact of the matter is, we do. We do. It's sort of unfortunate that we do, but because we do, this becomes very important. But I have mixed emotions about that because it bothers me that we have to. Sure,
but like anything, I mean, like anything else, you can also look at it as a vetting process to ensure that a business's just general business practices are up to a level. You know, Cabo's out there saying this is the level that we expect from our members. And so the member businesses meet that level of organization, of quality, of integrity, of whatever. And, you know, yes, they're also throwing in the rainbow community element of it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and certainly, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you shop online, they tell you to look for the Better Business Bureau logo in the corner to make sure that they have.
I say that all the time. I say I want Cabo to be the gay BBB. Like, that is my end goal. And I understand where you're coming from, where you're saying like we shouldn't have to look to a directory to say, oh, this is a safe place to shop. And whenever I hear somebody say that, my immediate response is, when the day that we go out of business because it's no longer needed, then we've done our job.
Exactly,
you know?
yeah.
And I think that we as consumers, we can really pull the market in our direction where we really want to. Because I don't know if you recall the whole Target scandal, you know, when they donated to the, I don't even remember what organization it was.
Oh, it was,
one of the ones backing the Prop 8 in the Mormon Church.
Exactly, and clearly somebody in Target made some sort of big mistake, because Target has been notoriously known for being supportive of the community. And one of our affiliate chambers is in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and that's where Target is. And they're one of the corporate partners, so as soon as I heard it, of course, I'm like, what is going on? And, you know, and I know a lot of people that I know were like, we're not shopping at Target now. I'm like, well, where are you going to go? Like, there's, you know, we know Walmart is not a good place to go. So, and, you know, of course, Target came through and cleared their name, but it just goes to show how powerful we really are at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, actually. I mean, that's.
But I mean, also as consumers, that knee-jerk reaction. Well, I'm not going to shop at Target anymore. Well, maybe another approach would be to put Target back on the right track.
And that's what.
And then if they don't respond, don't shop there.
Yeah, and that's what organizations like Cabo are here for. You know, like in Minnesota, Target was able to actually contact the affiliate chamber and say, okay, what can we do to really get ourselves back in the right of the community?
The good graces.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things that, you know, specifically with Foxwoods, since it's right here in the backyard, anytime that they're looking to do any type of outreach towards the community, we're the first people they ask. So I feel like, you know, that goes to show the strength that we have, because, you know, they're seeing us as a resource and a valuable resource to actually speak on behalf of the entire community.
Right. And so there again, another good reason to support Cabo.
Exactly.
Because businesses rely on you as a resource. So.
Yeah. It's cool. So we got these nifty guys.
And looking through this, I was interested to see at least one university in Connecticut that's also listed. So the higher education system in Connecticut is generally, I think, pretty
Open.
open.
Yeah, I would say so. Yale University was one of our long-standing members. When we first started, they became a member of ours. And we do have relationships with other colleges, you know, like with UConn in particular. And there's some of them that just aren't members, but you know, they're still good places to do business with.
I teach at a community college in Connecticut, and was just reading this week where the president of the college has issued, attaching his own name to it, a very broad and inclusive non-discrimination statement. You actually spelling out including transsexuals.
Yes. And that's if I can say this, QVCC, which we've had a relationship with in the past. We've actually had speaking engagements here. They've been very good to us. The local colleges have actually been very good. UConn especially, we have a very strong relationship with UConn.
And I would say to that, if you're, you know, the person who's responsible right now for trying to create that wording to be all-inclusive, if they need any help, absolutely look to us as a resource to help you do that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And should say, if anyone out there has a small business or has questions, please call in. But I noticed looking through here, large variety of businesses. Probably in some cases they're self-employed, single-employee businesses, all the way up to something the size of Foxwoods. There's massage therapy, restaurants, driveway paving services, valet parking, printing, banquet facilities, performing arts facilities, law centers, surgery specialists, all across the board, all kinds of, even justice of the peace.
And we have lots of them, lots of JPs.
Really? Wow.
All kinds of businesses. So this isn't something even just for big businesses or for little businesses. This is for you know, the lawyer who's doing their own practice all the way across the board. You know.
Yeah, and we actually, I feel like everything comes back to Foxwoods, but we have a really great success story with Foxwoods, is that one of our members, GHP Media, they're a printing company and they're in West Haven, and he's been a long-time member, and he comes to every single event religiously. And he was able to network with one of the executives at Foxwoods. And because of our kind of opening the door a little bit for him to walk through, he now has a contract that's so large they had to hire 3 more people to handle just the Foxwoods printing job.
Right.
Wow.
So it's one of those things that, you know, if you have a product or a service, the corporate members that we do have, they're actually looking to utilize your services.
Yeah, this isn't just a vetting process for consumers. There's actual benefit to the businesses that are participating through the networking abilities.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Feverishly flipping the pages.
Yeah, there's a lot of names in here.
Yeah, this is
And we have a lot of nonprofit members too. Nonprofits.
Yeah.
I feel like hold
Several of
near
whom
and
have
dear to
had
me.
people on the show.
As I was looking at the past shows, I noticed many familiar faces.
yeah.
I knew Connecticut Trans Advocacy was part of that because we had talked to Diana. Diana goes to some of those.
Yes, she's a regular.
Harvard Gay and Lesbian Health Collective and CARC, the Connecticut AIDS Resource Coalition.
Yes.
True Colors.
True Colors, which I haven't come
St.
across.
Philip
There we
House.
are.
Yeah. Very.
The Imperial Sovereign Court of all Connecticut.
Oh yes.
Who doesn't
They are
love the
a lot
Imperial
of fun.
Court?
They are fun.
We usually get to spend Connecticut Pride next to them.
Oh, good.
I assume you'll have something at Connecticut Pride.
Yeah, we were there last year
Yep.
and I think the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty active, and what I always like to say Cabo can be is that, you know, a lot of, especially nonprofits, you know, Cabo is a nonprofit too, but, you know, I want to be able to go to Connecticut Pride and say, listen, I have all of these business members who are looking to get exposure talk to them, and then they can do business because now they're getting a booth at Pride. And it's the same thing, like the Imperial Court with their coronation. They're looking for different ways to reach out to our community as business community members. So, we do all sorts of in-kind bartering and all that fun stuff where, if they're trying to promote something and we want to be a sponsor, then it's a win-win. So we do a lot of putting the nonprofits with the sponsors, and then, everybody in between is who really benefits from that. So.
Right.
Wow. Very, very interesting stuff. And I want to warn you, we probably will talk a bit, and this is sort of off topic, but we do need to talk just a little bit about...
Because we always leave it for the end instead of...
it's something, obviously something that's important to everybody in our community. But
nothing your organization should have any problem with.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. We have been just basically sort of flat out with the
glued to the Twitter feeds.
Yeah, with the House Bill 6599,
Absolutely.
which is so very near and dear to our hearts, and so that's been a huge focus of ours in recent history, and it was actually passed out of Judiciary Committee.
Judiciary Committee. Yep.
Major hurdle.
Yeah. So
Have we ever
with no
gotten that far
amendments.
with no amendments,
Yes,
by about a 2-to-1 margin.
In 2007, it went to the Senate and passed the Senate in a vote of 30-4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it made it out of Judiciary that year. Every year except 2009, it made it out of Judiciary. In 2007, it got sent to several education. It got sent to 5 or 6 committees, made it out of all of them, made it to the Senate, got voted on, didn't get voted on in the House. 2009 was the only year that it stalled in Judiciary.
Yeah. So this year it's made it out of Judiciary,
And
and hopefully, since it's a House bill
And
this
been
time,
submitted to the House today.
hopefully, if it gets through the House, it'll have a better shot at getting. I'm thinking it's better to go through the House first and then to the Senate, but
That does historically seem to be the stumbling point.
yeah.
So those are the 2 next steps, is through the House and then the Senate.
Yeah, my understanding is there's a joint committee that decides whether or not it needs to go to any other committees. But I believe it was accepted by the House today, so I believe that means that there's no more committee passage, which means now it's just a question of the leaders in the House calling it for discussion and vote, and then passing it over to the Senate for them to do the same, and then doing any reconciliation between what passes. But happy to say, and thank anybody and everybody out there that took the time to contact their representatives, that it did pass out of the Judiciary Committee without amendments.
Yes.
And we have some disturbing information about what some of those amendments really, really were. But now that it's going to the House, we're going to be asking you again in the upcoming weeks. The Judiciary Committee is a joint committee between the House and Senate. It's just a small group of representatives and senators. But now that it's in the House, everybody's representative has a vote on it now. So everybody can help now.
Yes, that's
And I think it's appropriate also, and we'll certainly be, I think, as a community, sending thanks to these people. But I think it's appropriate to thank the legislators specifically who stood up on our behalf and spoke for this, and really helped us get this through.
Indeed, there were some, and we spent a whole day at the Judiciary Committee, 11 hours at the hearing.
And we will be bringing you some of that video.
And some of the stuff that some of the testimony and some of the things that our representatives and senators were saying were quite amazing.
And we should say that it passed the Judiciary Committee 27-14 with 4 abstaining.
Yeah. So it's basically a 2-to-1 margin.
Yep.
So I'm pretty happy about that.
And yeah, Representative Gary Holder Winfield, as a sponsor of the bill, was instrumental in getting it brought to the committee and moving through the committee.
Eloquent, very powerful words from him.
Yeah, there's We have a list in one of the emails of the people that did a lot of the reps and the senators that did a lot of the legwork behind the scenes to keep things moving, and certainly Senator Bai played a big role in advocating for the bill amongst the members. And, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're real happy about that, but yeah, the amendments were kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
But anyway, so certainly things are moving forward, and hopefully, you know, in a positive way, and I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed, but I'm hoping this is going to be our year.
That's what everybody, I feel like, has been saying since the start of really, you know, pushing legislation through, that everybody's saying this is the year, this is our year.
Well, in previous years, the bills had a really good showing, and there's been formerly the Connecticut Anti-Defamation League had done a really good job of trying to keep everything moving and get people together. But this year, especially with the reformation of CT Equality and having somebody like Sally Tamarkin, who's actually the organizer of the event, there's a tip to the spear, or it's going in one direction. The bill has always had overwhelming support among the legislators. It just, we needed a little more organization, I think, than we've had in the past to actually get it called for votes.
Well, I think Sally definitely was spearheading that. She was all over the place, and I know that she contacted us sometime last year. I don't even know what month it was, but you know, we were doing everything that we could on our end to get the business leaders out there, talking to their representatives, making phone calls, and we were sending emails out to all of our members, and we had Sally come to one of our events and talk about it, just to clear the air and clarify exactly what the bill was about, because there's some people
dispel rumors.
Exactly. Some people didn't know what it was about, so it was a matter of educating the broader audience, which when we do have a lot of ally members who are at our events, it's great to be able to educate them further than they originally thought that they would be. So it works out well.
Exactly. And what does this mean for me? That kind of for businesses, especially businesses.
Exactly what you said earlier. How does this potential law affect my business?
Yeah. Well, one of the interesting things that, and I don't know how much of this we're going to talk about tonight, but certainly our sort of opposition, the FIC. Has sort of dubbed this the bathroom bill, which is an absurdity. But I can see businesses out there going, oh my God, what am I going to have? Am I going to have to put? We were talking about this.
Yeah. Do I have to put a third bathroom?
And it's like,
how much is that going to cost me?
Yeah, and
it's such an ignorant statement.
It is. It totally is. But you can see.
But that's what they want.
Exactly.
Because I mean, he's the FIC Action Group has been in several places now quoted as saying that they don't want a male-to-female transsexual using the women's room. They also don't want the male-to-female transsexual using the men's bathroom. So what does that mean? The state's going to mandate businesses have to have a third bathroom? They're going to oppose that too. Yeah. They just want us to go away.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
To give up.
And certainly we don't, it's not our intent to try to hurt businesses in any way.
No, I want to spend my money. I want to feel comfortable so I can spend my money. I like to shop.
Yeah.
You know what I say, especially when it comes to the businesses, if anything, it's going to empower your employees, especially if you're, larger corporations, or even if you only employ 5 people, having this type of policy where you can't be fired from your job just because.
Yeah.
It gives, as employees, knowing that if you're working for a company that's supportive across the board, I feel like you're going to get more productivity out of your employees. They're not all stressed out, like, oh God, is somebody going to find out, or, whatever else it could possibly be. I think it just, and I think there are studies out there that do show that it does actually improve productivity on many levels.
I think many larger corporations in particular are seeing that when if an employee transitions, they're actually getting a better employee.
Because you're not hiding anymore. You feel comfortable and you're yourself.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and in the case of transsexuals, when you start getting on hormones, you start getting that chemical balance right. The ability to focus, that just the physical ability to focus and concentrate on a task and work, rather than being distracted all the time, literally with your head in the clouds. That's what it feels like.
And that alone should be reason enough to be,
is great for business. But I think too. I mean, I know there's been a push for instance, educating businesses on hiring people with disabilities. And I think the GLBT community, we're looking at much the same thing, and educating businesses on the kind of creative and talented people that are out there. If you can just look past the surface.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, in ways that the folks in our community can really benefit your business. You know, one of the questions that got asked in the Judiciary Committee was, well, what if a hairdresser, what if the owner of a hair salon was to hire a trans person as a hairdresser, and some of the customers were made uncomfortable and told the owner that well, we're not gonna come back here unless you get rid of that person, and then their business failed as a result of losing customers. It's like, well, if the business fails because 2 customers don't come back, you have a different problem. But I remember talking to you about it later, and it's like, okay, so you lost those 2 people. That trans person working there is going to bring in 9.
That was my exact thought.
And do you not think that hasn't happened?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we know from networking within our support group that it's like, this is a really good doctor, or this dentist is really really good with GLBT folks, and it's like, all right, I'm going to make an appointment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's all it takes is that one referral, that one word of mouth.
Yep.
Because I can, tell you every different person you should go to, but if somebody in the community is sitting here saying, listen, this person's great with LGBT individuals, then if it's coming from a friend,
Yep.
That let's all migrate over to that person, and the hell with the person who's over there firing their trans employee.
We frequent Mr. Cheese restaurant here in New London because they're friendly.
Yes, that's like our second home. We love that place.
And we're
going
lots
down
of people there too.
In fact, we're going there tonight, and you're obviously welcome to come.
Oh, fabulous.
But yeah, we always hang out there after the shows.
You should have product placement for them sitting on the
Yeah,
table.
well, cable access. There's little.
Yeah, no,
You never know.
and certainly, yeah, they're really good people and friends, and
Yeah.
and so we get on there. But yeah, it's interesting. I guess I wanted to sort of go into that sort of education thing a little bit, educating business people and stuff. It's sort of amazing, and you look at a thing like this, and there are certainly big companies and small companies, and a lot of people out there that are very cool with all of this and very friendly and open and accepting. And there's sort of this dichotomy, and there are people out there, there are organizations, companies, and business people that just the kind of people that would like to drag us behind a pickup truck, I swear. I mean, that's a bit over the top, maybe, but people that just really have a great deal of disdain for us.
Why can't you just go live somewhere else?
Yeah, but I think the sort of the education thing I think is kind of important. The being able to educate business people about how this all works, because some of them really have some bizarre ideas, and I can give you a little example of that. Something that I experienced, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on my experiences here, but I did have a boss that when I transitioned at work told me, and he was convinced, and he told me this, he was convinced that there was going to be an exodus in the company I worked for. He was
of customers and employees.
He was convinced that all of our customers, the customers, the banks that supported us, and a large number of company employees would quit.
Because your position was a nexus point where you had to deal with all those facets of the business.
Yeah, but it's sort of like it kind of
couldn't hide you.
Right, I couldn't be hidden. But it blew me away, that notion that, oh, these people are all going to quit when they find out this, and it's like, well, why?
Think how much empowerment he's giving you. At the same time,
it
really feels great about his business.
It didn't come to pass, obviously.
No,
but it just that whole notion, it blows me away that it makes me wonder how many other people are out there that actually think that way, that really actually believe things like that, and because he believed that.
Well,
it's like, wow.
believed it so strongly that he wanted you to promise him, and you didn't.
Well, it's a different person. But
Different person,
yeah,
same company. That if that exodus came to pass, you would do the right thing and quit.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel fortunate enough, at least, that I don't know any business owners who think that way.
Yeah, but
But I feel like I live in a bubble. You know, like
I'm thankful that you don't let them in if you come across
yes,
them.
absolutely.
it just sort of boggles my mind that anybody could think that way, but obviously they do.
They do.
And so you know, it just kind of makes me wonder, and that's why, you know, you talk about educating business owners, and I think that is certainly a really good thing to do.
Absolutely.
And it's multi-directional.
Yeah, yeah, obviously.
Business owners are going to be bringing information to other business owners and educating each other on lots of different things.
And a lot of our members are the actual business owners, so they do have, you know, a whole host of employees, so then they're educating their employees, so even when they do leave that business, it's something that they might carry with them to the next place.
Sure.
So eventually we will get there.
So we spread like, I'm not going to go there, but no, it really is. It's an amazing thing, and it really is a good thing, and you know, it pleases me. But it really does blow me away. Some of the misinformation and sort of bizarre notions that are out there, and that really surprised me. Of course, going into a transition, you sort of prepare for a lot of things. But there's always going to be surprises, and I think that was kind of one of them. One of the big things that surprised me was how good most people really are, and how understanding most people really are, and I was sort of blown away by the sort of compassion and understanding that I got from the vast majority of people.
Well, that's good. At least it's the majority who are compassionate and understanding, and it's the minority who...
But some of the...
There's a lot of people, I mean, the vast majority of people, in our own experiences here in southeastern Connecticut and across the state, the vast majority of people are like, I don't get it. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Not, I don't get it, tell me more, which should be the response.
Well,
I guess it sort of reaffirmed my basic belief in the sort of intrinsic goodness of most people.
Yeah. Most people want to be fair.
Yeah, I really believe that's true. I think
Live.
the vast majority. And I think that there are certainly a few people that are just bad. But I think there are also a lot of people out there that just don't get it. They just really don't, and certainly if they can be educated and made to understand.
I was going to say, I think it's the lack of education is why they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, how often do they have somebody there that's willing to educate them? So I think that, you know, it's important, and then it's even more important when, you know, we're out there educating LGBT, and, you know, even LGB needs to be educated on T. Like, if there's, you know, there's such, you know, stereotypes and miscommunication. So, you know, we're even educating LGB or just L and the G, you know, so it's interesting that there's a constant need for education across the board.
Yeah.
And since this is sort of business related, one of the things that continues to come up in the opposition is this fear in businesses, specifically in schools, that employers would be forced to retain employees who could one day be a man and be a woman the next day. It could lead businesses to lose customers who don't want their children exposed to people who change their gender.
It just happens overnight.
Because it just happens overnight. That's right.
Done.
The fairy godmother shows up, waves the magic wand. You know, no, it's for anyone who's watching this in the vein of education. It's a lengthy process over a period of time, at least 6 months to 2 years. It takes time to do it. And it's really disturbing that you might lose customers, and then all of a sudden we go to damaging children's psyche.
Yeah, children are just so naturally accepting of everybody and everything. And I have 2 small children, and when I go to the daycare, you know, all the kids scream, "Oh, your mom's here!" And if my partner goes, "Oh, your mom's here!" Like, it doesn't even cross their mind that they have 2 moms. Like, it's just, you know, another part of their day.
Yeah.
Kids are great.
They are great like that.
So
Just own up that it's your fears, not your kids.
Exactly.
In fact, the story of your grandson.
Yeah.
You want to tell that?
My grandson. Yes. Well, when I transitioned, my grandson, who actually watches our show if it gets on YouTube. But anyway, my grandson, who is now well, I won't say how old he is. Okay, he's 14 now. But
At the time, he was 8.
He was like 8 at the time that I told him, and he's a really sweet kid, big kid now. But he's a great kid. He really is. And I told him I wanted to talk to him, and he was scared. He was so scared that he was in trouble or something. I sat him down, and he was scared until I said, no, this is about me. It's not about you. You didn't do anything wrong. And he's okay. And I explained my transition to him, and he listened very attentively to the whole thing. And then he said to me, okay, I'm fine with that. I just have one question. He said, what am I going to call you? Because obviously it changed, it was, and so I said to him, what do you want to call me? And he said, I want to call you Callie. And I said, okay. And he said, where's lunch? It was like, okay. And you know what?
That's awesome.
It's like,
That's great.
he's been fine ever since. And honestly, he's never missed. He never misses a pronoun or he always gets it right. He's told me, on numerous occasions.
He will tease you about when you were that thing before.
That's because that's what I always say. Yes, he teases me about that. But he's actually said on numerous occasions that he likes me better now because I'm happier. And of course I get mistaken for his mother on a regular basis, and he knows that I love that, and so he doesn't dime me out. He plays along. He's a really good kid. But it was amazing how easily he accepted it.
Yeah.
Kids are great. They just
Across the gamut of our organization, I don't think we've run into anyone who's had a problem with kids.
yeah.
It's only the full-grown adults that tend to have
Yes.
the problems.
And then they use kids as a sort of an excuse.
They do. And frankly, use things like putting a business out of, driving a business out of business.
Yeah, and we talked about,
as you said, that's giving us a lot of power.
Which I would harness.
If we're that powerful, let's name some businesses.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. It's like, no, it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, you might lose a customer, but you're probably going to gain a bunch.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about, and because this is always the question. So what happens if being this trans or an L or a G or anything else or a B, any of the myriad of letters in our,
If you ask Robin from True Colors, she'd go like 60
I
letters.
love that.
Yeah.
Heteroflexible.
She did that
Straight-ish.
for the Judiciary Committee, which I was really
that was
impressed.
classic.
She did. It was so cool.
So we have an author friend that got us on a different set of
Ron Suresh.
phraseology that we just say the gender and sexual minorities.
Yeah.
Because
All encompassing.
because GASM is an easy acronym to remember.
Yes. But yeah, and one of the things that we were talking about is like this whole notion. Okay, so this notion that anybody from our community, if you feel that having this person as an employee is going to hurt your business, shouldn't you be entitled to fire them? And it's like, and the obvious question that we ask is, well, and this is something you say a lot, is substitute another minority. Substitute another marginalized group for trans or lesbian or gay or bi or whatever.
Well, and ask yourself,
would it be okay?
Instead of wondering, can I fire them if they are hurting my business, ask yourself, are they hurting my business?
Or are you yourself hurting your business?
Yeah, or are you yourself? Do your own management practices, are they what's at fault?
Yeah.
But, so before we entirely run out of time,
Well, that's right.
we're getting
we've got
really
4
close. Well, we've got two and a half.
All right. We always run out of time.
Yeah, well, one of the amendments was one that Diana had brought up before that we'd heard of, which was the Senator Kissel from the Enfield area put in an amendment.
That's where I am, in the Enfield area. Happy to have him up there. He was the one I called.
Tried to modify the language in the bill to ensure teachers couldn't transition from male to female or female to male during a school year because it might be confusing to school-age children. That amendment would allow the school system to forcibly reassign that teacher somewhere else in the district in a non-teaching position.
Yeah.
You're going to assign a teacher to a
Why?
non-teaching position. That assumes you have a non-teaching position available to put them in, or you're going to create one for them. But Representative O'Neill from the Southbury area wanted to make sure that a man who identifies himself as someone with a female gender identity could not access a homeless shelter if the homeless shelter was run by a religious organization.
Seems ridiculous.
And then what was the third one?
Oh, the crime thing.
Yeah, which I don't see here. I was looking for the actual language. But yeah, would allow, would automatically bump a, no, I don't see it here. If you were to commit a crime in a disguise, in a gender-specific disguise, if a man, and it only goes one way, that's the fun part. If a man commits a crime dressed as a woman and they're not trans, then misdemeanors get bumped up to felonies.
It was kind of
How
strange.
does that even make sense?
And then there actually was another one that they tried to get, I don't know how far it made it, that would force people to use the bathroom of their birth gender until they had surgical alteration.
Yeah.
Which, there was actually a comment on one of the articles from an intersex person
Yes.
who gets chased out of men's and women's rooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of education that needs to be done, I think.
What I would really like to know, though, is how a religious organization's refusal to help a homeless trans person doesn't violate the injunction against judging people.
Yeah, sort of their own religious tenets.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear the reasoning.
Yeah, it's always baffled me because
We
even
don't talk about the church.
even at the most basic level, if you don't agree with the person, how can you minister to them if you drive them away?
Yeah. On that, we really need to need to say goodnight. Anyway, Jen, thank you so much, and please come back and see us again.
I'd love to.
And you're welcome to bring business owners and stuff with you.
Oh, I've got plenty. I've got plenty.
But please come back and see us again. It was really wonderful
Well,
to
thank
have
you
you.
for having me.
Thanks.
I do appreciate it.
And thank you all for watching. And next week we have Jill Espelin from UConn is going to be on.
Nursing program.
And so anyway, thank you all for joining us, and Jen, thank you, and we'll see you next week.